This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another hopefully interesting discussion today. Another Minecraft discussion on all things well-being. And my name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled to have a talk with you on something I speak to my Minecrafters in the class during the semester on do what you love and the money will follow. This phrase actually is also a title of the book. So, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow is by Marcia Sinitar. I don't remember the exact date it was published because I'm not looking at it this minute, but it was decades ago. And when it hit, it was like, earth shadowing. Really? I can actually follow my passion and have the money roll in? Well, yeah, and honestly, that's the only way it really does roll in for the most part. Obviously, things can happen with inheritances and this and that, but as far as, earning the money, following your passion is key. And as you know, my dear friend Oprah, 'cause I love her so much, we're very good friends. She just isn't aware. She talks about this a lot. She'll say when your personality aligns with what you are meant to do in universe with a capital U, source, higher power, God, whomever, when you the who you are, the unique spirit you are is in alignment with what the universe wants, oh my gosh, the universe is your oyster. Isn't anything that can't roll in for you. And in my Mindcraft class, it varies, like, because obviously I change things up a lot, but I'll show these really short clips, like 30 seconds to a minute, because it doesn't take that long to get the idea. So sometimes I would show an old clip of Michael Jackson at 7, or I mean, little boy just flying across the stage, ba 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 ba. That's it for my singing right there for sure. But he's just nowhere in his head is a paycheck. Nowhere he's dressed in all the bling bling and the glitter and having a ball at 7 years old, flying across the stage, and that's one. Sometimes I'll show. I have a little one on Michael Phelps. There actually isn't even any sound to it, and it's kind of from underneath in the pool. You can just see he is just so in the zone, just in the zone. And then there's one with I forget her name now. She's 7 years. She was 7 years old in this as well. A little surfer from Australia, and they called her the flying squirrel, I think. And you watch her in these ginormous waves, just huge, huge. Waves in Australia, kind of like you see in Hawaii when they have the surf competitions. There's this little girl just looking like as if she's at one with the ocean. She's at one with the waves and no fear, no nothing. She is just doing her thing. And this is just how it works. When our personality is in alignment with that which we were meant to do on this earth, it just all comes together. And this sort of idea has been out there for ages. You hear the great ones saying it a lot. You listen to Oprah. I just said has been saying this forever. Tony Robbins and obviously Marcia Sinitar, but lots and lots of the greatest thinkers have been saying this for a very long time. And also Sarah Von Bresnick, I want to give her a shout out because I was inspired by her today as well. She wrote the book Simple Abundance, and Sarah says that Marcia Sinitar is actually not the first to advise us along these lines. Countless sages, poets, and philosophers have done so. though each has put it differently. One of Buddha's main steps for achieving enlightenment, for example, is discovering your right livelihood. Just imagine that. And at the other end of the spectrum, John D. Rockefeller believed that the power to make money was a gift from God, which is simply another way of saying, do what you love and the money will follow. And another thing to understand, I'm also in this minute thinking of Aaron Doughty. He came into my mind. He's also one of my teachers that I listen to on occasion. And he has a good lesson about this too, because it doesn't mean, oh, Jim Carrey, I just thought of him. It doesn't mean, okay, I figured out my passion, and then like you sit on the couch with a sandwich. That's what Jim Carrey says. You've got to obviously put in the effort, commit to it. The main thing here though is you've got to realize and know who you are and what your passion is first, and then go full throttle towards that passion. Some people say, "Oh, you don't understand. You understand," and maybe you don't. They're working in some horrible, it's horrible for them because it's not meant to be for you. You're in this horrible job that's just safe. There's no growth. There's no excitement. And it doesn't even have to be miserable. Maybe you might just not have any kind of there's no spark. To me, that's a fate worse than death. There's just no spark. But it can be comfortable. Maybe it's a steady paycheck, maybe not so much. Maybe you're making some money, but not enough. And it's a constant struggle. So you've got a second gig on, side hustle on, going on. And Aaron Doughty talks about that in his podcast when he talks about working at, I think it was Barney's, I think, in Manhattan. Anyways, selling women's shoes all day. And, excuse me, he wasn't no, he was growing increasingly more miserable, but it was a stable job, a stable job. He's in Manhattan. He even mentioned his salary, which was decent, though obviously the standard of living is higher there. So once he really was figuring, I don't want to do this. It's gradually turning into something I despise. So and then he once he realized that, he got a plan together, and there was overlap. So it's not just like just find my passion, quit tomorrow. He started so he had some overlap, so he started to make because he wanted to be an influencer, he started to make YouTubes, like, every single morning, and I think got up early or stayed up later, I don't know, but he worked at it on both ends until he was able to let go of the other job, and it wasn't a comfortable letting go, he was still gonna come up short, but now once he quit, he had the time to then go full throttle. So the overlap is important. And Jim Carrey says something very similar when he was young Jim Carrey talked about writing himself the check for $10 million and then put it in his wallet and walked around with it. He gave himself 3 years and just did all this visualizing and eventually, obviously, he got the movie Dumb and Dumber, which paid him exactly $10 million, which is just wild. And, just in my own life in a more, quote unquote regular person kind of way, right? Wow. I mean, I've just seen it happen in my own life. And now, how much I love teaching. Teaching is what I was just meant to do on this earth, which is really, I've actually been changing that lately to educating which also rolls into my mission of being a good mother and all that. It all rolls in together. Um, I love teaching so much, and now I can very clearly see my next move since again the broader sense it's educating because I love to also just like I love to fly around the classroom, I love to fly around an auditorium with different groups of people. And lately, I've been doing a lot of that at colleges and universities, and it's the same charge for me because I'm following my passion. It's just packaged just a little differently because obviously it's still educating, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and the money will follow. It's just how it is, and I love it when at the end and people are asking questions and sharing about their lives the make them making a difference out there thing is just such a charge because there's so many important conversations to have right now in 2022. And I just did one at Penn State last week with just a lovely group of people. I can't say enough about their warmth and kindness and this desire to have a conversation about preventing burnout and learning how to take care of ourselves better. And they chose to have me work it into the sort of an adjacent conversation about how self care also needs to incorporate an equity-based mindset. This was the student affairs crew at Penn State. So that's just another example. And I've been doing lots of these with different conversations that whatever said group really wants to have that fits with their college or university. And it's just been so incredibly rewarding. It's just I absolutely love it. And that being said, I had this came up in the chat last week that you don't want to be that weekend warrior, just living for the weekend to come and because if that's the case, something is wrong. So that particular conversation was about burnout prevention. So it might be something that you do really love, but it's spun out of control for various reasons, which are too much to get into right now because that was a specific conversation. But you could be headed down the burnout trail, and that is very important to look at because your life minutes today, all of our life minutes today, in this moment, today, are important. So to just try to survive and get through today for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is just that's a very strong signal with flares and neon signs and loud horns to say make some changes. So if it's a situation of burnout, that can be undone if you really have the passion to do it. There are things that can change to make that happen. And or if it's you might be realizing that's no longer the position for you. It's no longer the your calling. You might want to if that isn't your passion anymore. It's a good idea to get out of there. Okay, so it can be different reasons, but the idea is you don't want to be surviving today to enjoy tomorrow. That's just nuts. Absolutely nuts in a work sense of the work sense of the word. And so what I'm saying is with that is it's one thing if you're being pulled towards something else that's your passion versus being pulled away from something that's just because you're burnt out. But either way, you don't want to live for the weekends because that is throwing your life minutes in this moment away. So then Sarah says, we when we say do what you love and the money will follow, she says, but still we ask, does it really? And then she says, yes, but not the way you're used to getting it. In the first place, the money usually doesn't come all at once, especially in the beginning. That is just important to know because the universe asks us to be patient with that. Remember, the universe also responds well to everything we do. Literally, whatever we say yes to, we get more of. What we say no to, we get less of. That's very important to remember with what we're putting out there. I am saying yes to presentations because this is my next move. I love educating, and I'm a fabulous 57, and I would definitely that's definitely where I'm headed. Is doing even more and more and more of these as I'm invited to them. So then she says, um, okay, in the second place, the money will come from unexpected sources, but it will come, and here's why. When you start following your authentic path, you're finally using the gifts spirit or the universe expects you to use. Remember, Oprah says the exact same thing. You're actively searching, um, for whatever the universe is has in store for you. You're holding up your end of the bargain. Spirit's part of the pact is to make sure you have everything you need to make you truly happy. This includes money. This is another thing. A lot of people think that if you're pursuing abundance in this way, that this like you're a bad person if you're chasing down wealth. And obviously wealth is a much bigger word than money. But here's the thing, if you're putting it out there to the universe that having money is having let's say having lots of money is bad, makes you a bad person, guess what you're not going to get? The universe is going to say, okay, she doesn't want this because it's going to make her feel badly about herself. Well, then it's not going to come. Another thing that helped me work through that, because I had that mindset for a while, not recently, but a long time ago. Um, and Aaron Doughty talks about it too. Is that money is a side effect. It's like your passion is the steak or the big roast stuffed chicken, the money is the rice pilaf or the asparagus. It's like a side, but yet we also really like the rice pilaf and the asparagus. But aim for the stuffed roast chicken and the steak. That is the passion is what we're after. You can tell I'm a foodie because I use that examples. I use those examples a lot. And then Sarah says, Spirit knows the rate of exchange used here on earth is cash, not clamshells or sheep. But the rate of exchange in heaven is wonder. Doing what you love is not about the money, it's about wonder. As soon as you understand you're supposed to be asking for wonder instead of money, you'll start experiencing abundance. Trust me, doing what you love does eventually lead to the ATM, but you might have a few detours before you get there. Oh my gosh, spot on, accurate. What's crazy when you're so in alignment, which I'm feeling in alignment right now and in the flow, which is the work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, being in the flow. I'm in the flow at this minute in this podcast with you in Northern Vermont. I'll just give you the visual. I'm upstairs on the couch with my hot tea by my side. The sliding glass doors are open. It's raining and it's the morning and it's incredibly peaceful, and this conversation just came to me, and there is nowhere else I'd rather be than right now doing what I'm doing. I it's just, so this is what we're talking about, doing what you love and the money will follow, being in that flow zone. And also another great teacher is coming to me, because that's what happens when we're in the flow. The teachers just show up everywhere. So I talk about Wayne Dyer a lot, and he's another one that can roll right into this, because he talks about how to having authentic, that's the key word, authentic desires is a good thing. And I just did a podcast about the disease, dash ease of wanting. Not the same. We're not talking about, the Murphys next door who just got the Tesla, and now their kids riding around in a electric car, and blah 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 blah. That's a jealousy, envy, striving for materially things without the authenticity. That's not the same. Having authentic desire, or as Sarah Von Bradnick says, wonder, when we're chasing, our next move, our authentic next move, that's desire, that's wonder, that's passion, that's all of it. And that is not only okay, that's what the universe, God, source, higher power expects of us. Like, yay, they're finally getting it. I'm here, I'm ready. So then Sarah says, we when we say do what you love and the money will follow, she says, but still we ask, does it really? And then she says, yes, but not the way you're used to getting it. In the first place, the money usually doesn't come all at once, especially in the beginning. That is just important to know, because the universe asks us to be patient with that. Remember, the universe also responds well to everything we do. Literally, whatever we say yes to, we get more of. What we say no to, we get less of. That's very important to remember with what we're putting out there. I am saying yes to presentations because this is my next move. I love educating, and I'm a fabulous 57, and I would definitely, that's definitely where I'm headed, is doing even more and more and more of these, as I'm invited to them. So then she says, um, okay, in the second place, the money will come from unexpected sources, but it will come, and here's why. When you start following your authentic path, you're finally using the gifts spirit or the universe expects you to use. Remember, Oprah says the exact same thing. You're actively searching, for whatever the universe is has in store for you. You're holding up your end of the bargain. Spirit's part of the pact is to make sure you have everything you need to make you truly happy. This includes money. This is another thing. A lot of people think that if you're pursuing abundance in this way, that this, like, you're a bad person if you're chasing down wealth. And obviously wealth is a much bigger word than money. But here's the thing: if you're putting it out there to the universe that having money is having, let's say, having lots of money is bad, makes you a bad person, and guess what you're not going to get? The universe is going to say, okay, she doesn't want this because it's going to make her feel badly about herself. Well, then it's not going to come. Another thing that helped me work through that, because I had that mindset for a while, not recently, but a long time ago. Um, and Aaron Doughty talks about it too. Is that money is a side effect. It's like, your passion is the steak or the big roast stuffed chicken. The money is the rice pilaf or the asparagus. It's like a side, but yet we also really like the rice pilaf and the asparagus. But aim for the stuffed roast chicken and the steak. That is the passion, is what we're after. You can tell I'm a foodie because I use that examples. I use those examples a lot. And then Sarah says, Spirit knows the rate of exchange used here on earth is cash, not clamshells or sheep. But the rate of exchange in heaven is wonder. Doing what you love is not about the money, it's about wonder. As soon as you understand you're supposed to be asking for wonder instead of money, you'll start experiencing abundance. Trust me, doing what you love does eventually lead to the ATM, but you might have a few detours before you get there. Oh my gosh, spot on, accurate. Well, I'm literally sitting here with the rain coming down, kind of having this, subtly surreal. Is that even possible? Like an oxymoron. It's just surreal that I'm talking about flow and I'm literally in it right now. It's just there's no one else I'd rather be, and nothing, no other place I'd rather be. And I'm just in this, loving having this conversation with you and delivering this message. It's a high like I can't tell you. Okay, so then Sarah says, okay, here's uh, which brings us to the third and final caveat: we must not tell spirit how the money should be delivered, when it should arrive, or in what denomination. This can be the challenging part because the good Lord put a lot of things in my gift bag, and patience is just not one of them. I'm telling you that right now. I'm a work in progress with that, and we have to realize the universe knows knows, or God or spirit, however that is for you, knows what's in store for us. So Sarah says, this is not ransom. This is not a ransom. Spirit's been delivering the goods for a long time now. Spirit doesn't need our input. Although it's been my experience that friendly suggestions and reminders every now and then about exactly what bills need to be paid does not seem out of line. That cracks me up. The point is, no, I think we said this in a different episode, is that if you want to make the universe laugh, or spirit, right, tell her your plans, because this is we just get off in our own direction, and then we get reeled in by what Oprah calls whispers, right? Like, okay, no, wait, glad you think you're liking it over there, but I'm going to reel you back in over here. And when we don't listen to these whispers, as Oprah says, they can turn into bricks. So it's like, not that way, this way. Another thing Oprah says is to run your own race, because we can often get wrapped up in what somebody else is doing and all their bling bling and all their, especially if they're in the zone, if they're in their own flow and their own authenticity, doing their passion. It is incredible to watch, and it's enticing, because you're like, wow, they're like, the charisma is like leaking out of their pores because they're in their flow. But here's the thing: that's their flow and their authentic path, not yours. You can only be the best you, and with almost 8 billion of us on this planet now, there really are 8 billion unique snowflakes out there. It's just true. So then Sarah then kind of winds up with, she says, especially what happens sorry, essentially what happens when you begin to do what you love is that you get a new employer. Spirit always pays us in proportion to how hard we work. It's probably the first time that many of us will find ourselves being compensated fairly. I like that. But the paycheck doesn't arrive every Friday or even once a month. I don't want to scare you, but sometimes it can even take years. Still, it does arrive. And the first time you get paid for doing what you love to do will be one of the most thrilling moments of your life. That I can vouch for. With teaching in general, which is not a super high paying occupation relative to some others, but it just feels so good. And my good friend Dr. Dave, I talk about a lot. I mean, way back when, he's retired now, but way back when we were both teaching, and we go to lunch every other week or so, and way back then, we'd be like, oh my God, can you believe we get paid for this? Like, we're having so much fun, it almost feels like it should be illegal or something. And obviously we need the paychecks. We're not saying, that's the world operates on cash. That's the currency, right? But we actually felt like, how is this even possible to love what you're doing this much and get a paycheck? And now with running around doing these presentations, it's just, again, same theme, different stage, so to speak, right? And it's just, oh my God, I just can't say enough about it. And then Sarah says, it's worth the wait. It's glorious. It's bliss. It's nothing less than experiencing heaven on earth. That is absolutely true for me. And for the grand finale here, Sarah shares with us, as the English novelist Enid Bagnall reminds us, there may be wonder in money, but dear God, there is money in wonder. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.